Crazy Legs Conti from Major League Eating. I've been a competitive eater for 18 years, and in 2009, Navy Entertainment partnered with Major League Eating to send 7 tours to entertain the sailor soldiers and the armed forces at bases all over the world. I was fortunate and honored to be part of 6 out of 7 of those tours, so I couldn't be more happy to be coming to you at the next through Navy MWR just to give a little greeting, a little hello, and talk a little bit about my time with all the amazing Navy MWR folks, with every sailor soldier I met along the way, all of the people who made those trips possible. Ari Nisman, who was the booker, who saw me on Emerald, quaffing hot sauce, thought competitive eating would be a great thing to bring to bases all over the world, to open for bands, because the demographic was the same. Younger people who love music and love rock and bands love crazy competitive eating. And it proved to be the case. So Karen Fritz, who oversaw the whole program, provided me with an opportunity, as did you, that was life-changing, life-affirming, and life-amazing. So in today's video, I'm not going to do full-out competitive eating because I'm by myself and safety is paramount. However, I happen to have a flat-top grill in my apartment. I'll just turn it on, which is very beneficial come July 4th and the hot dog qualifying season at the Nathan's International Hot Dog Eating Contest. Because when I eat in competitions, and you do have to win a qualifier to go on to the finals, which is on ESPN, and 40,000 people at Stillwell and Surf, the Nathan's dogs are cooked exactly like this on a flat top. If you get one from Nathan's, they cook them for about 14 minutes. They get a nice char, a nice snap. In competitive eating, they cook them for about half that time. They cook them for 8, and they're a little more difficult to deal with. I've eaten in Major League events every food they put on the plate. There are 60 events a year. Hot dogs and buns are absolutely the toughest. I didn't take the F train to Coney Island today, so I'm going with just some store-bought Nathan's dogs. These are skinless. These are not the natural casing, which have this sort of garlicky, good snap heard around the world. I'm just looking for a way to open these. But we can do a little technique talk, a little training, and maybe remind you of the times that competitive eating came to one of the bases and, did what we do best, which is being gustatory gladiators. All right, I'm going to throw some dogs on the grill while the grill heats up. And I got some buns. I have a dunking liquid. All right, we are set there. So I also have in front of me 3 hats from 3 of the places that I visited on tour, and I just thought I would take a page from Ari's Coffee Talk show, and I would just pick out, I wrote down all the bases I visited. I would just pick one out of the hat, and I would talk about it. Hopefully you don't get too bored. Hopefully you can get a good meal at the next or eat at home while we do this, because I absolutely, it's the best thing I've done, not as a competitive eater, but as a human, to go and entertain the sailor soldiers all over the world. I can't thank you enough in these unprecedented times for what you're going through, what you're doing. I hope I can bring a little levity to the situation, but it's not just in these times, it's in all times. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. I just picked out of the hat, I have Suda Bay in Greece. So Suda Bay was the most operational base that I visited on the 6 out of 7 tours. And operational in the sense that you would walk down the hallway and the lights would just go on, and each sailor soldier is carrying their weapon, their artillery. It didn't seem like there was ever an off time. And it was one of the few bases that we couldn't do a pro-am. So the way we would do competitive eating on the circuit is it's every man and woman for themselves. It's you block out the crowd, the screaming people, the fireworks, the eater to your left, the eater to your right, and you just focus on your plate and your plate alone. When we would go through Navy Entertainment, Navy MWR, we would meet someone on the base, or we'd be partnered with someone, a sailor soldier or a member of even the nationals on the bases we were at. We'd do team eating, which was pretty amazing and pretty unique. If you ever saw a show, you know that an MC in a boater hat came out and said, competitive eating is the battleground on which God and Lucifer wage war for men's souls, and they're right. And he would do introductions, and he'd introduce the Pro-Am team. We would do team eating. Little side note, I know a lot of you are big Joey Jaws Chestnut fans. The only time I've ever beaten Joey Chestnut, I am 1 in 12 years against him. And this is eating like 40 to 50 times a year against him over past a decade. We did kimchi and watermelon. He didn't like spicy food. And I was partnered with a young woman on a base in South Korea, in Chennai, and we crushed him. We crushed Team Chestnut. Team Crazy Legs won. So another reason I'm very grateful and thankful. But on Suda Bay, I remember just interacting with the Navy MWR gentleman there, and he had this great mustache. He said everybody over there was a big Zorba the Greek fan. We had amazing walnuts. We had amazing yogurt, because part of visiting these places is both meeting everyone who's stationed there and then learning about the environment and the foods there and having time to explore the world. And for that, I am incredibly grateful, because I read Ken Kesey's Sailor Song, and I only wanted to go to Alaska. But things allowed me to travel the world. And I'll talk more about food and how it unites us. But I remember Suda Bay, we couldn't do Pro-Am eating. We just did an exhibition, and we had to eat to, I think it was like 40 hot dogs and buns, which is well beyond my personal best. I'm just going to flip the hot dogs. They're starting to sizzle up. So I remember waiting for Pat Deep Dish Bertoletti, like, please get to 40. I'd hit the wall. I was getting the meat sweats. It was a rough one, but happy to do it in Suda Bay. All right. I tend to be very verbose, so I might have to speed up. All right, out of the middle hat, Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia is, I guess it's British owned. It's in the middle of the Indian Ocean, but that's underselling it. It's really in the middle of nowhere. And it's apropos that the slip is blue, because the blues of that non-commercially fished area were like incredible. I remember thinking that Crayola Crayon should come out with a 64-pack of Diego Garcia's blues. And we did get to go fishing. If you're stationed there, there's not a ton to do. It's very pensive in terms of, you just look around the environment. It's very reflective. I found it a great place to meditate and hear the coconuts fall from the trees. But we did get to go fishing with a lot of the musical acts that traveled with us. So I guess at this point I'll thank all the musical acts over the years. The Kelly Bell Band was amazing, such energy. DJ Baby Electronica, all these bands that have come to perform for you, to give you life and energy and joy. We did go fishing. We caught a fish, and I thought, oh, let's eat a little bit of it raw and try it. And then later we were told, yeah, you never eat that fish raw. That had to be cooked well done. But everybody was fine. I am a competitive eater. I have an iron stomach. That show we were opening for Edwin McCain. Edwin McCain, an amazing gentleman, a really great band, such stellar music. And I'll Be was their big hit in the 90s, and it still remains the #2 song in the Philippines behind the national anthem. I remember being on Diego Garcia, and everybody who was kind of working there, who was of Filipino national descent, was just treating me like I was a king. And then we came out and ate hot dogs, and they were like, that guy's not in the band. So they were still very nice, but it was one of those, I'm not a rock star. I have no musical talent. I do own several ukuleles. Can't play any of them. Not one lesson. All right. Let's reach into this third hat. Yokosuka. All right. So Yokosuka in Japan, beautiful base. I do remember meeting a couple guys from the Air Force. And I said, oh, I hadn't really met somebody from the Air Force before. What do you guys do? They said, oh, we're on the vice president detail. We fly a helicopter and some vehicles, and we love coming to Yokosuka or Atsugi because we get to play golf. These guys had the dream job. Now, I will say, one of the things I loved about the Navy Entertainment, Navy MWR tours, is I'm a huge Marx Brothers fan, all 5 Marx Brothers. And Groucho Marx did vaudeville, and he traveled all over the United States and the world, and he would meet people, especially servicemen and women, and they'd say, oh, you've never heard of my hometown. He'd say, where? And they would know it. And from competitive eating, I've been everywhere, like that Johnny Cash song, you know, Davenport and Biloxi and all sorts of places, every city in America you could imagine. And when I would meet somebody who was a sailor soldier, and I'd say, hey, where are you from? They'd say, oh, you never heard of it. or they would tell me, and I'd say, oh, I ate 49 Crystal hamburgers there, and then I went to Dwyer's on Beale Street and ate my 50th of the day. And it was a real way to connect and to find out what they did. And the second way to connect was to find out their jobs. And I have to say, it was incredibly enriching to me. I think people talk about the sacrifice that is made by everybody there, and it's not understood until you're physically talking to somebody, until you're hearing what they do day in and day out, and the difficulties of the jobs. Some are very lighthearted. You know, a kid I met swimming in Guantanamo Bay, we went to Gitmo. Gitmo became Eatmo. He wanted to be in Hawaii because he wanted to go surfing. It was the most beautiful bay in the world. And another guy there, his fiancée was in Florida. He couldn't visit her. He thought he wanted to be a drill sergeant because he loved the hat. I love hats too. So to hear the jobs that you've done, the Joint Task Force at Gitmo, I'm sure I'll pick that one out of the hat soon, really was super inspiring and made me think about all the men and women who are logging the hours and days and months and years to make America safe, to make America free. I know I'll get to Guam, which is the place that America's sunrise starts. All right. I should probably speed up unless this is taking too long. But the dogs are cooking. They're browning. Okay. So Okinawa. So we got to go to Okinawa. Okinawa had a lot of, they were a little concerned about competitive eating. How does it jive with the physical fitness that we demand in the military? And they did discover that we are traditional athletes. We train like any other athlete, burning off those calories, mind over stomach matter. I love Japan, and I loved Okinawa because they had soba, and that's one of my favorite things, ramen. I was always influenced by Takeru Kobayashi, and I would eat ramen the night before a big hot dog qualifier competitive eating because it was voluminous. It would stretch out the stomach. It would make me warm. It would keep me kind of mentally prepared. I had great sense memory. And the thing about Okinawa was it was a very tight-knit community, and we got to see how, you know, the Marines and how different people on base would eat and eat together. Competitive eating, I think of as a giant communal meal. Much like when we celebrate Thanksgiving. For us, it's a celebration. Even though it's a competition in competitive eating, it's a celebration of food. And the way food brings us together. You can hear the dog sizzling, which is also a good Pavlovian thing for me to get going. So I feel very fortunate that competitive eating, and we do have altruistic outlets. We partner with food banks, philanthropic efforts. Badlands Booker and I one year handed out turkeys before Thanksgiving. I like to find ways to give back and find ways to share those communal meals. And to me, I just remember that sense in Okinawa that we're in it together. And in these unprecedented times, we're in it together again. And soon we'll be sharing a big communal meal. I encourage everyone to do the technology to share meals with people back home, eat and talk about food. Food really unites us. It's the fuel in our sport and the food in our sport, but it's also the thing that as casual diners eat is one of the greatest things you can do is to appreciate food. All right, out of this one, Gitmo becomes Eatmo. So Guantanamo Bay was the first trip I went on. I went with Eater X and Pretty Boy Pete DeVicus, and we flew a C-12 plane there and back, and the whole experience was just absolutely life-affirming. I mean, I can't tell you how much it meant to me. The story I'll share, so we took off in the C-12 when we were done. We were on base for about 36 hours. We were there for a jazz event. We did an eating contest beforehand. It was incredibly satisfying. A guy who wrote for The Wire was my partner, and we ate well. We didn't win. Eater X is always tough to beat. But we were flying out, and we couldn't, for whatever reason, we couldn't get back to the mainland. I'm going to turn the grill off and let those cook down. So we had to fly back and burn off some fuel and then land. And it was my second time in Cuba, Gitmo, so I was enthralled. But Pretty Boy Pete DeVicus, who has, at the time, 2 young kids, 2 and 4 years old. He'd never been away from his kids for a weekend, let alone any length of time. And we met a servicewoman while we were waiting to hopefully get back on the plane. And she said, I have some kids, or I have a kid too, and he took his first steps the other day, and let me show you. And she showed the video on her phone. And we knew that women and men like her stationed at Gitmo have a year contract. They couldn't leave. They couldn't see their family. And to see Pete's face, to realize that this young mother who's serving in the military couldn't physically be there to see her kid walk was just, it's an understanding that very few people have about what you do every day, parents in the military, and the difficulties of being away from your kids to keep America safe, to keep America going. So that was absolutely wonderful. I have nothing but super fond memories of all my trips, but Gitmo was certainly special because it was the first one, and I have some very good stories as well. All right, let's go with Camp Fuji. Camp Fuji, we visited on the way in between a couple of the bigger bases in Japan. I mentioned we do pro-ams, and we eat with, it's a basic casual diner. We know that in the early days of competitive eating, a civilian might come out of the crowd and be great, but they're probably not going to beat you. And after years of being a pro and knowing, technique and food, we pretty much know no one's going to beat us. We're pros. I don't expect to play one-on-one basketball against Kevin Garnett and score. However, Camp Fuji, one of the guys was just this unbelievable strapping, his nickname was X-Man because he looked like a mutant superhero. He was that in shape. And he was on a team, and he started eating. We were doing donuts. We always did different foods. We did a lot of hot dogs and buns, a lot of Nathan's hot dogs and buns, like I'm cooking up here. I'm gonna plate some. But we were doing donuts and sweets. I love to do sweets. It's guilt-free calories on the competitive eating circuit. And I ate 24 donuts, and he ate 19. He and his pro eater, they ended up winning, and they won I think it was like a mini fridge, and they were asking, can we take it on a high-speed vehicle, but it had all this lingo I didn't know, and I was so impressed. Major League Eating was so impressed that we petitioned Major League Eating just to sign him, when his military career was over, and I hope that happens. So Camp Fuji was great, and really showed the verve and fight in somebody who was out to win in competitive eating and really life too. I am not in as good a shape as he was. I do 100 push-ups a day. I'm supposed to. I've topped out at 30. I really got to get back to that. All right, let's reach into the next half. Oh, Sigonella in Italy. Beautiful base. I know the saying, Sig one for fun. I was thrilled to go to Italy, to go to Sicily, and one memory I have of that, so the contests usually happen outside, and they happen rain or shine. And I remember Ryan Nurse, who was the MC, the Major League Eating MC, that's the guy in the boater hat, who comes out and does the hoopla, because our storytelling ability is through the units of food, the number of food we eat. We can't verbalize it. So with some humor, some sports knowledge, the MC is going to give the announcements, introduce the eaters, the pro-am teams. And in Sigonella, a downpour happened. And the fans didn't leave. And I just remember I was eating and looking at Ryan Nurse's boater hat, because all the MCs wear the boater hat. It's just dripping water. And he had this beatific smile on his face. And the crowd loved it. The crowd surged forward because we would take the energy from the crowd and just funnel it into our stomachs. Any butterflies you have in the stomach are quickly squashed by the hot dog and bun. I use Tang to dunk. We do use a dunking liquid. Joey Chestnut likes to use just hot water, which he says loosens up all the internal sphincters. Hopefully not all of them, Joey. But I'm going to let the dogs cool a little bit. All right, let me reach into the hat. So Sigonella was amazing in the rain. All right, so I just finished one hat, and this is the Joint Task Force from Gitmo. I'll give you a bonus story after this one from there. So Sasebo is also in Japan. I think 1951 it was founded. It was the first base in Japan, first U.S. base. And to make the servicemen and women the Americans feel welcome, they opened up all these Sasebo burger places. The American hamburger being the gold standard, except they had a little Japanese spin on it, which was, it was a giant patty with a thing of Canadian ham and mayonnaise, and all the nationals, these Japanese women, would would wear cowboy hats and cowboy boots and serve the burgers so that people would feel at home. Just dealing with some technical difficulties. Stand by. So I loved visiting. The one thing about being a competitive eater is that you can't eat before the contest. So I was there. I was in Sasebo. I had the burger, but I couldn't eat it. I had to hold off, but it was delicious. All right. I got my Joint Task Force hat on. So to Gitmo, I will show you one technique first, which is we separate the bun and the dog. We split the dog. I always go nubs up. Now, don't do this at home unless you're in a contest or you're over 18 per Major League Eating or you have an EMT present. And then I like to reverse the bun and open up the fleshy underside, dunk it in my tang, use the tang to create kind of like a log flume-like ride in my esophagus down to my throat. Sort of like playing Tetris in your stomach, lining those dogs up. So here we go. So here I snap the dog, chunk the bun, and then I go into the next one. I'm a little rusty. I'm a little out of shape. All right. Let's go with the middle hat. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Oh, it's Sugi. Okay. Thank you, Gitmo. Thank you, Joint Task Force. All right. So this is the Itsugi hat. All right. So you just saw me eat one hot dog and bun, and I might show you another technique or two. We at Itsugi were paired, or one eater was paired with a Japanese national, and he was wearing a Mount Fuji hat. It looked like Mount Fuji, and it strapped in. It was like a, pretty big thing, but made of felt. And because of Takeru Kobayashi, who's a great eater, and the Japanese have been great eaters, everybody thought this guy was going to help his pro-eating, pro-am teammate. The crowd was just surging, yelling for him and cheering him on. So I think he was eating faster and faster. In fact, he was eating so fast, it was beyond his abilities. Now, there's one rule in competitive eating, which is we don't call it the V word or the P word, vomit, puke. We call it urges contrary to swallowing, or a Elvis has left the building. It happens in Memphis. And what happened was Mount Fuji erupted. Literally, figuratively, he lost everything he'd eaten on the table. He left it all on the table, literally and figuratively. And so that was a new one. Mount Fuji had erupted. And it was pretty gross. But competitive eating in the spray zone can be fairly gross. So anyway, thank you, Itsugi. Thank you for that wonderful memory. Hopefully no one was taking a bite of their food at the necks. All right. Guam. I just picked out of the last hat, which is more than apropos. And in Guam, which is a place I've been to a couple times, but the first time we did 2 tours of subs or ships, carriers. The first was the USS Ohio, which is a nuclear sub. We got to see everything but the nuclear part. Part of meeting people is hearing what they do, hearing what their ship or sub does. And I loved talking to the gentleman there who said, all right, let me, do you guys have any questions? And I was with Joey Jaws Chestnut and Adrian the Rabbit Morgan. I said, all right, what happens first when everything, the siren goes off? And he said, well, first I press this button right here. I said, well, what does that button do? He says, well, that turns on the coffee machine. But then he told us about all the hydraulics and things like that, and we learned a lot. The second place, or the second visit we had, was on the USS Fitzgerald, which I know had a tough time not too long ago. We were there. We did a hard-boiled egg eating contest. Joey Jaws Chestnut and actually the XO, and myself and the CO, and Adrian the Rabbit Morgan, who won, who was willing to, Joey Jaws Chestnut, because Adrian got this incredible challenge coin. Joey was like, I'll trade you the yellow mustard belt for that challenge coin. And normally a tour would be about an hour and a half. You meet people. Ours was 5 hours. They honored us. They rang the bell when we left. The USS Fitzgerald and the people on there, we really connected with, and we just stayed. We talked. We really shared stories. It was really, really phenomenal. And I learned so much about the military, about the equipment, about the people, about what it takes. And there was an enormous, I guess this will be the bonus story as I have the Fitzgerald hat on. There was an enormous ripple from that time. From that 5 hours on USS Fitzgerald, I met a guy who knew them named Tomahawk, and he ate in this chili eating contest in D.C. We had all these White House photographers take these photos, which were, I mean, absolute beautiful portraits of signed to the Black Widow Thomas eating chili, but it's pretty gross because it's chili eating. The ripple effect you have in the job that you do, in the life that you live, and how you spend your time on base, how you tell your stories to the world, has an incredible effect. Has an effect on me. I think about those trips every day. I couldn't have been more honored or pleased just to be a part of it. And so this celebrates the 74th anniversary of a lot of things, but just to be grateful for Navy MWR and NEX. I know there's a Q&A. I'm probably running out of time. I'll try to go fast. How do I stay creative during this quarantine time? I post. I don't do a lot of social media. I have a typewriter and a landline. I'll tell you what. I'll take a dog. We'll go in the kitchen. I mean, we'll go out of the kitchen. We'll do the Q&A in the living room. If I can. Sorry. As you can see, I'm a bit of a troglodyte, but so I have very limited social media, but I try to stay. This is a Coney Island banner from Marie Roberts. And I hope to get back to Coney Island when all this is done. That's super bright. But anyway, I do a little media through Coleman's Bar and Grill. That's my social media handle. What routine do I have? I've been walking to the water. I live in the East Village in Manhattan, so I go to the water each day, watch the waves, meditate. Oprah and Deepak have free meditation. I think meditation is incredibly important in these unprecedented times. All the past disasters, man-made or natural, people commune. People come together to tell their stories. This is sending people to isolate. So use the technology you have. What meal did I make during quarantine? I went vegan in January, so I did Veganary, and I would make like trumpet mushroom scallops with truffle pea puree. Nothing too fancy this time, but I made anchovy pizza. I usually order anchovy pizza because I like to eat the whole thing myself. Nobody likes it. I really didn't think that one through, considering I'm the only one here. And lastly, what do I miss about being live and performing for the military? And the fans, and I miss you. I got to be honest. I take the energy not from the food, not from my ridiculous costumes or the fact I look like a cross between Grizzly Adams and Salvador Dali. I take it from you, the fans, the sailor soldiers, the MWR folks, everybody who comes out. I mean, that's the love, that's the joy, that's the warmth. So stay safe, stay strong. I know you will. I know you are. I believe, you believe, we believe together, because there's no one stronger in spirit, in verve, no one more magnanimous and giving than you, than the U.S. military, and worldwide. This affects everyone, and I know we can lead and get through this. So rely on your friends, your families, use your support group, and most of all, enjoy a good meal. Eat it slowly, and this is Crazy Legs Conti, and I can't thank you enough for everything you do. It says it right there. Oh, wait, see? It says it somewhere. Eat all you can, and that's a philosophy of life. So I'm going to enjoy this bite very slowly. I'm going to raise it to you out there, keeping America strong. Keep yourselves strong, and I'll see you on the circuit very, very soon. Thank you so much. That's a good hot dog.